Welcome to Coffee and Geography, where my guests and I geek out about the world and everything on it, discovering that we are all geographers in some way, shape or form. I'm your host, Kit, and my pronouns are they, them or she, her. So settle down with a brew, hit that subscribe or follow button, and enjoy the listen. Hello everybody, and welcome back to the Coffee and Geography podcast. Got a special one for you today. During the week just gone, so on Thursday the 25th, I was involved in a little set of workshops for a organisation called the Norfolk-Dedza Schools Links. Which used to be called the Norwich-Dedza Partnership, which used to be a charity, and it was all about connecting classrooms and teachers between Norwich and the area and the town of Dedza in Malawi. And it was such an utter privilege and life-changing experience to be part of this group of teachers, to learn about Malawi, for Malawi and everything. And I went out to Malawi in 2013. I can put a link in the description for a blog that I kept while I was out there. And yeah, it was just an amazing experience. So what they do every year is that they do a conference about Malawi and life in Malawi and what we can learn from Malawi and about Malawi for primary school students, so elementary school students. And they have a day's worth of activities. And in the past, they did have, as part of the exchange, teachers from Malawi would come over as well and be a part of this but that's since gone with the funding. But so what I thought I'd do, I'd take my my podcasting equipment with me, and I'll talk to a few folks, and you can get a little kind of taste of what the day was like and what the partnership and the links are all about. So let's start off first with Nick Nicholson, who was one of the folks who started it all back almost 2 decades ago. Nick Nicholson, I am so pleased that you're here, because you are one of the people who started this whole process of what used to be called the Norwich-Dedza Partnership, but now it's called the
Norfolk-Dedza Schools Links.
Norfolk-Dedza Schools Links. And I think it's because, is one of the reasons because you started off with schools in Norwich, but actually your remit has grown because you got like Refirm as well, who are obviously not in Norwich. And
yes, it started off as a link between Norwich as a city, but then, as you say, the schools expanded into Norfolk, so we had to call it Norfolk.
Yeah, that's amazing. But Nick, tell us what happened. Like, how long ago it all started? Why you thought this is a great idea, and how it all came about, really.
I worked for the city council as the computer manager, and one year a group of Malawian police came for some training, because the Norfolk police were engaged in training the Malawi police.
Oh.
And along with them came what's called a district commissioner, who is like the chief executive of a county. And his area is called Dedza in Malawi. And he came and stayed with the city council rather than going with the police. At the end of his stay, the chief executive of the city council asked how we could help. He knew that we were changing over all our computers, and he said, could we have some computers? So the city council filled a shipping container with the old computers, sent them over to Malawi, and sent me and a couple of other guys to help set them up in Dedza in Malawi. And when I went over there, I was so impressed with the people and the situation over there that when I retired, we set up a charity to continue that link between Norwich and Dedza.
Wow. So how long ago was that then?
About 18 years ago.
And I just want to pick up on something you said, which is absolutely amazing, and this is why people listen to the podcast, is you went over there and you were impressed with the people and everything like that in there, and were there any kind of like stereotypes that were blown away when you got there? Because everyone has stereotypes. You know, a lot of people say that Africa is a country when we know it's not. There's 54 countries, and there's such a diverse, rich mix of people. So were there any assumptions, stereotypes that were challenged when you went there?
I think, the news we get about Africa is always about conflict or some poverty or some climatic disaster.
Yeah.
Because we were sort of going to schools and villages and seeing the people, how they really live, then you've got an idea of how their normal life was.
Yeah.
And how, with so few resources, they manage to live a reasonable life, so that they can build their own houses. They can make bricks out of clay. They can stick them together. They can put a roof on. They can grow their own food. They live in a totally different way to the way we do. But it is what they can do with the environment and the resources they've got.
Yeah, and of course the colonial legacy that they've been left with as well.
Yes, yeah, often that is a problem. And for Malawi, there's the problem of it being a landlocked small country. Like a lot of countries in that area, there are the diseases of malaria and problems like that.
Yeah. So now we're in 2023, and it's sad news, but delighted that you're. Well, I don't know what the Malawian term would be for hanging up your boots or something like that, but you're handing over the reins. How do you feel now that you've come to the end of this chapter? I mean, I know you're still going to be involved and whatnot, but that in terms of leading it, you're kind of like looking back now. How do you feel?
Yeah, well, mixed feelings. It's been an important part of my life since I retired for 18 years. It's given me something to do. I've met a lot of very interesting people, yourself included. And so, yes, there's a disappointment about bringing it to an end, but also a realization that myself and others who are involved are just getting older. So traveling to Malawi is getting more difficult. And we can't deal with issues that arise or keep monitoring projects in the way that we should. Because we're a charity, we have to make sure that the money people give us is spent in the best possible way. So we've closed it down as a formal charity, but individual people who've been engaged with it are carrying on. So that the school links will carry on. There's an optician in Norwich who is linked to the eye clinic at the hospital.
Okay.
And she's carrying on supplying equipment and spectacles to them. Another woman who is an artist showed the women how to do sewing, and we took over old Singer sewing machines. So they're now progressing with their sewing.
Was that Andrea that did that?
Andrea, yeah. She sends out patterns and bits and pieces that they need. So there are individual links still carrying on as a sort of legacy. Yeah.
And if there's people listening who really, really do want to help out in some way, I mean, maybe not physically. I mean, of course, if you're in the Norfolk region, then great. I can put in the show notes any contact details. But you say they're not registered charity anymore. But if there's any, so I don't know, somewhere in Sunderland or something that says I'd like to support in some sort of way, is there any way they can do that?
What we've done is we used to have a bursary fund that enabled the children to go to secondary school because they have to pay school fees. We've closed that down, but we've handed it over to another charity called CAMFED.
CAMFED.
CAMFED, which is a Cambridge-based charity, but very large, very well established. And they are providing bursaries for school children in Dedza.
Awesome.
So if you Google CAMFED, you can give some money to them.
That's amazing. Oh, Nick, speaking personally now, you gave me a life-changing experience by, through this. And when I was a teacher at Framingham and I did the exchange in 2013, I have lifelong friends now. I'm still in touch with Francis and Bakati, who was on this podcast, Brave, Davey, Joyce, and yourself and everybody. And this is just, it is no exaggeration to say that it was a life-changing experience for me for the better, and I wouldn't be the person I was today working on like decolonialism and things like that without that experience in Malawi and meeting those amazing people over there. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for everything that you've done, not just for myself but for schools here in Norfolk and for those folks over in Malawi.
Well, thank you. It's good to know that, and I'm glad that you're part of the continuation.
It's an absolute pleasure. I wouldn't be any other way. Thank you, Nick.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, Alison.
Hello.
Can you introduce yourself for us?
Yeah, my name's Alison Hudson, and I'm in the Dedza Partnership.
So tell us a little bit about how you got involved in. So it's now called the Norfolk-Dedza. It used to be called the Norwich-Dedza, but now it's the Norfolk-Dedza.
Norfolk-Dedza. Yep. So I was a teacher at Reefham Primary School, and Lily started working here, whose mum's very involved with it. Mum and dad's very involved with it, and so we got a Malawi link with a school called Tapazana. And that was around 13 years ago, and I've been involved ever since.
13 years ago. Did you go to Malawi at the same time I did in 2013?
No, I went in about 2019.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
right.
2019.
Oh my, but this is how long this thing has been going on for. You said 13 years, and like you went 2019, I went 2013.
Yeah. It's been going on for such a long time.
Because we're trying to get prepared for the day here, which is absolutely amazing. I don't want to take too much of your time, but if you could explain or describe what that experience going to Malawi was like for you and why you think this partnership is so important, that'd be amazing.
My trip to Malawi was just absolutely amazing, and to be fair, it took me around 6 months to fully understand the difference of life in Malawi and life in England. The extreme happiness, the lack of mental health issues, even though it's such a poor country, poverty, but just the differences of both our geography here and the geography in Malawi. The walking for water, where we just turn a tap on, and just threw me.
Also, the level of resilience of the Malawian people as well. And Malawi is such a diverse country, as much as anywhere. I mean, there are lots of middle class Malawians, as well as there are Malawians of the poorest of the world.
Yeah.
But they all are very resilient people, very clever, talented people.
Yeah.
And I always argue when we talk about places like this, they say, well, these folks are thriving and surviving in the conditions that they've been given to them on the back of colonialism and things like that.
Absolutely.
We need to give them a bit more respect and a little bit more.
Definitely, it was just amazing.
Voice.
Just how, like you say, the resilience out there. There's not a sad person out there at all. It was just what I saw anyway.
Yeah.
It was just amazing, and using the local resources was just fantastic. For teaching. I just thoroughly enjoyed it, and it's just, I just love being a part of it. I've had a sanitary towel project that I've been running for 10 years, sort of sewing sanitary towels and sending them out there, and helping my head teacher's wife to do a sewing course. So now they're like self-sufficient with their sanitary towels. It's just amazing. I've loved it.
There you go. It's empowering, doing everything from empowering women to helping education. It's just, it lifts everybody up. Thank you so much for talking to me, Alison.
Thank you.
Year 5 and Year 6. Do you need to know numbers?
So that's no. So 5 from
Year 5 and 6.
I got Year 7 students here from my old school of Framingham L, which is so amazing. None of you know me though, because I was a teacher, and then before. Oh, thank you very much for that. No, you were alive when I was still teaching at Fram. Anyway, so you're volunteering to help out today for this Malawi conference. Why did you thought, this is something I want to give up my day of school of?
Because I want to get out of school.
That's valid.
It sounded fun. It sounded like it would be interesting to do.
Yeah. So have you been learning about Malawi back in school?
We did an assembly ages ago about the school partnership and that sort of thing, which was kind of interesting.
Quite important to have a multicultural, you got to know from people from all around the world. You don't. You need to be more multi-country. If you know all the schools from England and you don't know all the schools from places like Malawi, it's sort of sad because you don't know how to get taught in other places.
Yeah.
And then you end up like some people in America who think there's only America and or places they don't understand other like places and their like cultures.
Yeah, and we know that the world is such a lovely, diverse place.
Yeah.
And you can't think of Malawi is one country of 54 in Africa, and in Malawi, which is the size of England, is quite diverse in itself. So it's unfair to say that they're all sad and poor when actually, there's a lot of life and a lot of amazing stuff going on.
I can impress my mum so that I know more knowledge.
Yeah.
But she's a geography teacher, so
There's
she's
got to
probably
be
know.
one other thing. The bonus of missing school for a day, but there's got to be something you're looking forward to, surely. You get to be on a podcast.
Learning about the animals.
Yeah?
Yeah, learning about. I don't even know. Fun workshop.
You're just happy to be here.
Yeah.
And that is totally okay. It's all right to just enjoy the day. Well,
Fun workshops.
There's one particular nice moment when the youngest attendee of the day, only 5 years of age, brought in her mother's journal when she went over to Malawi, to Dedza, as part of her nurses training with the University of East Anglia. And here's the moment that folks were having a little flick through this little journal that this young person had brought in. It was absolutely delightful.
Her mum's trained in Dedza.
So her mum trained as a nurse in Dedza. Oh, through the UEA, through the University of East Anglia. Oh, wow. Crikey, that must have been a while ago. That's the old UEA logo. So, yeah, we got pictures of the nurses with the women and children in. And then some amazing pictures of the landscape. Look at that. Very similar to you remember when Davey showed us, pointed towards Zambia and said, over there, that's Zambia, and with the mountains in the distance.
You sure it's all right?
Are you okay with that, Grace? We show everyone?
Hemisphere
We showed everyone our
starlight
didn't we,
walk
before
with
we came?
Davey.
So this is just
amazing.
like a big
We stayed
party.
overnight in his village. We cycled up on the back of cycles, and we stood on a place like this and just looked out and looked at the stars. This is beautiful.
So lovely.
Oh, thank you for bringing this in. This is amazing. So does your mum still talk about Malawi?
I bet she
Yeah.
Very
And
excited.
there is a nurse from Dedza in the antenatal ward at UEA at the hospital at the moment. Yep, Stella.
Oh, at the Norfolk and Norwich?
Yeah, Stella.
That's amazing. So you just goes to we really are a global community, aren't we?
We are.
And probably since your mum went, there's a man here called Mr. Neville, and his group, they helped make a shelter so that all the people who look after the patients in the hospital, because you have to, as your mum told you, you have to take your own food and help the people in the hospital if you've got a relative there. And they made a shelter. So Norwich and Norfolk helped make a shelter so the people could stay and do cooking.
Amazing.
Wow.
Talking there was my good friend Joss Mack, ex-colleague of mine who's teacher at drama, and now she's a very, very close friend and family friend, and she's been a part of all of this for a long time as well, and has been to Malawi a number of times, and speaks a little bit there from her experience. So the conference got started. All the young people and their teachers were in the main room to get started. And so what had to be done first is introduction of the day. And Sue Eagle took us through a little bit of Chichewa. Let's see if you can pick some up yourself. Have a listen.
Okay, welcome everybody. My name is Sue. And first of all, I'm going to say to you, Muli Bwanji. Ah.
I'm good, thanks.
Oh, very good. Yeah. So I think a lot of the kids the children on their way to school just say hi like we do. If they see a friend, they say hi. But there is a very formal way, and this is Joss.
Hello, Muli Bwanji.
So Muli Bwanji, Joss.
Indili bueno. Indili bueno kaya inu.
Indili bueno.
Oh,
Zikomo. Wow, goodness me, what was that? But how cool that we can speak Chichewa.
Muli Bwanji, Muli Bwanji, Muli Bwanji, how are you? Muli Bwanji, Muli Bwanji, Muli Bwanji, how are you? Indili bueno, Indili bueno, Indili bueno, I am fine. Indili bueno, Indili bueno, Indili bueno,
I'm with my wonderful, beautiful friend Sue Eagle. Sue, we've known each other for a while now, haven't we?
Oh, a long while.
Yeah, when I was pretty much almost a baby teacher.
But you were always an amazing teacher.
Aww.
I was always really happy to bring our Malawian head teachers to your classroom. I knew it would be interactive and child-centred. Fabulous.
So yeah, actually, let's talk about the part of the. I mean, it's now the link, but the partnership which used to bring the Malawian teachers over to the Norwich area. So tell us a little bit about maybe some of your experiences.
Well, the money, the funding it was called a reciprocal grant, so it meant that our teachers from our Norfolk partner schools could go out to Dedza, as you know, because you were one.
2013,
and, yeah. And we could bring Dedza teachers and head teachers back over to here, which was amazing because they were people a lot of them hadn't even been out of their town, Dedza town, never mind their country.
Let alone, they've even been to the Longway or Blantyre.
Yeah, absolutely. And so when they came over here, I mean, it wasn't for long. It was just over a week every time. But we tried to give them as good an experience as possible. We took them to schools where we knew they'd have a great experience.
Yeah.
Because the whole basis of our school links is about learning. Yeah, it's not about raising money, although sometimes we do, because Malawi is such a poor country. But it's about our learning, it's about their learning, and it's about our learning together.
Yes.
So, and at the end of every visit, I used to sit with our heads and teachers and just do an evaluation, very informal, but the things that they learn.
Yeah.
And some of the Malawian heads were saying stuff like, your teachers really like the children. And, all of that. And they were very, very taken with group work.
Yeah.
They were very taken with philosophy for children sessions.
Yes.
And the support in terms of teaching assistants.
Yeah.
I mean, wow. And class sizes, obviously, because we have 30 max. Well, sometimes a bit.
Yeah,
over
and
that.
even we say that's too large.
Yeah, that's right. And they have 100 plus.
Yeah.
With one teacher.
Yeah. I remember teaching a lesson with Francis and Bukati, who's been on this podcast.
Yeah.
And what you said about learning from Malawians as well.
Yeah.
And we team taught about settlement, location, site and situation of settlement.
Okay.
And he brought a very amazing Malawian perspective and it changed my colonial view of what site and situation should be. And it was brilliant. And he was amazing.
Well, there you go.
Francis is amazing.
Francis is amazing. But isn't that just one pointer of how successful these links are?
Absolutely.
That we learn. I mean, I used to do the evaluations with our teachers as well, and with myself, and our learning is as much as their learning.
Absolutely.
And that's the crux of it. I think, that you've got equality. I mean, one thing that the British Council looks at for these links, when they used to provide funding, they don't anymore, but they look for equality.
Yeah.
And I think that's when you've got equality. Not just their learning, not just our learning, joint learning. Love it. Love it.
Subsistence farming?
Yep, it's farming for your own needs.
Farming for your own... That's probably the simplest, best way I've ever heard it say. That's amazing. Farming for your own needs. So that means that we've got a group of we've got a family here of subsistence farmers, right? And they will be growing food for themselves and their community, and if they have anything left over, they'll sell it on to market. Whereas the opposite of subsistence farming, where you have giant tractors and combine harvesters who grow massive fields of stuff to sell to markets and places like that.
My dad is a farmer.
Commercial farmer.
Yeah.
There you go, it's called commercial farming, okay?
That's
excellent. Your expertise might be coming quite handy. Right, we've got some Year 7s with us. Amazing. Year 7s are going to be like the village elders who can supply... Yeah, because you're old. Who can supply advice. But it's the family who make decisions. So, first of all, I need one of you folks from primary schools, I need one of you to be the treasurer.
Me.
Right. So,
I know how to be a treasurer.
Okay.
I'm always banker in Monopoly.
So let's see. You should have 50. Well, the kwacha is what you call in Malawi. So you two could be the treasurers. So you've got 50 kwacha there.
We're rich.
Right. And I need someone to be the head of the family. Do you want to be head of the family? Or
Can I be the head?
of the family?
Can I just be the head? Like, can I just be the mad one with all
Someone
the
else
money?
be head of family?
Can I
Right,
be the head?
tell you what, you two, maybe you can take turns being head of family, because the game goes once a year, so you can take turns every year, right?
Expensive. I'd get
Wheat is 16, cotton's 22, peanuts 26. Can we get any livestock? No. We can't get any livestock. We can get some tools. We can get a shovel for 16 or a scythe for 35.
Get a scythe.
We
Then
can
we'll
get
become deaf, and then
we can get a shed for 50 because we can't get any livestock without a shed to store the feed in. So
Can you get a like a scythe? So, yeah,
A couple of pieces of corn.
okay.
And then see if you've got enough for a scythe. And then you've actually got something to harvest it with.
So shovel says shovels give a small increase in crop yield, so it helps you to grow a bit more.
Oh yeah.
Yes,
You're gonna do that?
do
What
that,
you
and
reckon?
then
Yeah.
Right, Jack.
I think we should do that, and then
Shovel?
get a maze.
Right, so shovel, that's another 15, please. So stick your shovel on your tool shed, on your tool patch. So 15.
There.
Yep.
And now we have 19 left. I think we should just spend the rest on some corn.
Right.
Corn, yeah.
Okay.
No,
Spend some
wheat.
rest on the corn. So we've got, you could do 3 of them. So, I am here with one of the teachers. So Dan, thanks for coming today.
You're very welcome.
So do you want to just introduce yourself, what you do?
Yes, I'm Mr. Lowe. I am Deputy Head at Avenue Junior School. I've brought with me 8 children from years 3 to year 6.
So how did you been involved with the Norfolk-Dedza link then, and how do you get the kids involved at the avenues?
Yeah, good question. So originally I heard about the partnership about 10 years ago. We had an ex-teacher here who became involved. She went out to Malawi, and that's kind of just gradually filtered its way down. Back in 2019 I was lucky enough to go out to Malawi and have one of the Malawian teachers come and visit me as well. And we've kind of tried to keep it going as much as we can within the curriculum. So in year 3, for example, we look at a couple of different African stories, one of which is based in Malawi.
So 7, 8-year-olds?
Yep, so Galimoto is a story that we look at. It's a story about how a young boy uses recycled materials to create his own wire car.
Nice.
And then in year 4, they look at The Boy Who Harnessed the Wind.
William Kamkwamba?
Yep, that's the one. And kind of link it into sustainable energy and how we can make our planet a bit greener.
Yeah, so fantastic. And what do you think these young people are? I mean, they're here. They can speak for themselves. What do you think they get out of this immersive experience about learning from Malawi? And of course, you bring in your experience of being out in Malawi back into the classroom as well.
I think for me, it's about learning about different cultures, understanding the ways things kind of work and develop kind of around the world, and it's a chance really to get the Malawi conversation going again and to keep it running throughout the school. When we have the partnerships and the exchanges going on, it feels very relevant and current. However, when those aren't happening, I think it's really important we kind of keep that going and don't let that drop off.
I mean, we're both geographers. We're both environmental science graduates from the University of East Anglia, and so we know the importance of diversity, of intersectional kind of viewpoints, and how that makes the world a richer place. So, you can never come out of the teacher's mindset, of course. I know that for sure. But purely from a geographer, if you think back to when you're an M student, what do you think is the greatest thing about, say, geography and like this way of learning about the world?
I think for me, geography is one of those subjects that is really, really broad and diverse, and kind of in one moment you're learning about volcanoes and tectonic plates, the next moment you're looking at kind of different cross sections of the way civilizations have developed and changed over a period of time, and so it's so broad and encompasses so many different aspects of the world that I find it really interesting.
Yeah. Right, Dan, I've got a special challenge for you.
Go on.
Right. In this podcast, what we do, and I don't know if the youngsters want to help with this, but what we do is that at the end of each podcast episode, we get a challenge from the guest previously with a word, and you've got to link it to geography in 30 seconds, right?
Crikey, okay.
So last week I spoke to Bob Digby, who's a well-known geographer in the geography circles, educator and ex-president of the Geographical Association, and he came up with the word scissors,
because he scrabbled around his desk and he
Oh,
just
my
saw some
goodness.
scissors.
Okay.
So do you reckon you can help Mr. Lowe speak for 30 seconds about scissors?
Just to speak for 30 seconds about
Right.
scissors, not linking to anything geographical, just...
No, you link it to something geographical.
I'm not sure I can.
Right.
30 seconds about scissors.
I like scissors.
Okay, that's...
Well, that's about 1 second.
Cut paper.
Okay, and where do we get paper from?
Trees.
Yeah.
Trees are in places.
Trees are a part of nature.
Okay.
Trees are usually big, but some could be small if they're young.
Well, what are scissors made out of?
Metal.
Could be metal or plastic, yeah?
Yeah.
The natural resources.
And where does metal come from?
Metal comes from the ground
And how do we get the metal from the ground?
with a pickaxe.
With a
That's one
pickaxe,
way, yeah.
potentially. Or large open pit mines, which
Yeah.
could be bad for the environment, couldn't it?
Well, there you go.
What impacts could mining have on the environment, do you think?
Well, I think running
Destroy nature.
like climate change get worse.
Well, especially if it's ripping up trees and so there's nothing to take the carbon in, yeah? And soil, which can take the carbon in. Well, there you go.
We seem to link back to trees, which
Well,
we
there you
use
go.
trees to make paper, and we use scissors
Right.
to cut paper. Perfect.
There you go. So, right, folks. So, next week, when I speak to a different guest for this podcast, you've got to come up with a word that they've got to link. Football, right, let's have some football. We've got football. What else can we have?
Give a word, Camilla.
Korfball.
Korfball, football.
Give a word, Lola.
Did you say grass?
Yeah.
Well,
Grass.
okay, you can have grass.
T-shirt.
T-shirt. Jumper.
No one's ever heard of it.
Korfball.
That's true. Yeah, no one's heard of
korfball,
korfball.
no.
Well, I have.
That's me and Dan are looking at each other like, yeah,
I
the
know what
Korfball
are.
Society.
Well,
and
I am the
yeah.
korfball teacher at school, so that's okay.
What are we going to go for then? It's your choice.
Let's go for t-shirt.
T-shirt. We'll go for T-shirt.
T-shirt's a good broad one.
Okay, right.
All right,
Well,
lovely
thank you
job.
very much for joining us,
No
Mr. Lowe.
worries.
Thank you for pupils from Avenue Junior School in Norwich.
Bye.
So, I would like to say a great, big, huge Zikomo Kwambele. That's what Zikomo? Thank you. And Kwambele is very much. So, thank you very much for coming today, and thank you, your teachers, all of you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you for bringing them. And you've been lovely, lovely children. So thank you for that. Thank you for behaving so beautifully. I think actually, do you know what? I think your teachers can be proud of you. That's nice, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've done so many fun things today.
Oh, that's lovely. I mean, you had fun things. That's lovely. I would also like to say a great big Zikomo Kwambele to our workshop leaders. So to Kit, to Alison, to Joss, and to Celia, and to Nick. Thank you.
So I hope you enjoyed that little episode, just a little insight into what was taking place at that Norfolk-Dedza Links conference. Obviously, I didn't get any audio of the other two workshops since I was running workshops myself. There was one about Malawian culture and crafts and dress, and so that was quite fun. And another one was a drama activity, learning about the different animals and wildlife in Malawi, learning some of the words for in Chicheba about them. I'm not going to try, I can't remember any of them. So if you're interested in any of this work, if you want to donate a little bit to helping folks over in Dedza in Malawi, then I'll put the link in the description for CamFed, and if you can donate to that. And maybe you might want to consider thinking if there's any way, shape or form that you can do something like this in your school or your community about learning from other places and getting to know about the culture of other places. So I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you next week when I will return to interviewing guests. It's going to be fun. See you then. Thank you so much for listening. We hope you had fun. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe so more stories and experiences can drop into your favourite podcast app. If you fancy being a guest or have any feedback, follow us on Twitter at coffeegeogpod and send us a DM. Or you could email coffeeandgeog@geogramblings.com. Until next time, keep geogging.